Hello, everybody, and welcome to Master Tape Theater. We are the world's first and only video podcast dedicated to the history and preservation of live audience concert recordings. And I am your host, the one-man crime spree, the world champion of videos, and the man that's causing all of this, Roy Damm. And I am joined by my esteemed colleague, the Duke of Danzig, the Alpha Romeo, Eric, the ladies fight for his delight, Lawton. Eric, how you doing this week, dude?
I'm doing pretty good, man. I'm really getting a little bit jazzed up for this Kiss end of the road tour, man. You know, I hear it's going to be a big spectacle and all that. And Tommy's got his little Christmas ornament outfit on. It's got a lot of bling to it. I hear it's going to be pretty good. But where's Ace, man? They can't get Ace back for this one more time. I mean, what's up with that?
I mean, maybe they should try to get Ace back. I mean, he's still out there clamoring this week on all of the social media sites trying to get one last minute in the spotlight, man. I mean, you know, but as you know, Kiss End of the Road Tour is coming, and they are going out on top. But, you know, I'm not sure who is the top or who is the bottom with Paul and Tommy these days, but somehow Kiss is going out on top, even if the arenas aren't even close to full, man. I'm sure that they'll be out there comping in, you know, half of the arena or more. Tour starts in like 2 weeks, man. Are you going to be catching up with them? I know that they're starting out in the West Coast first, man.
I was really hoping they could bring Ace back, and I would definitely go. Maybe they should bring Bruce back too, and have, you know, Bruce and Tommy like behind Ace, like this, you know, Bruce in the makeup, this little Ace army. Ace can wear the cape, so you know he's the real Ace.
I don't think it would be any good at all if they didn't have Vinny out there, the Egyptian warrior. Somehow they have to get all of them in on the deal. I mean, just a total clusterfuck of Kiss for the end of the road, man. I mean, you're going to need
I would love it, man. You know, bring up the two drummers. You know, I know we can't get Eric Carr, but we can definitely get somebody.
In order to fill those arenas at this point, they are going to have to summon on the forces of the greatest brand of rock and roll and reach out to every single past member of Kiss. But I don't know if Paul's going to make the call, dude. But actually this week I have some good news, some great news, and some kind of lame news, dude. I'm going to go ahead and just start out with the lame news. Everybody knows that the mighty Joe Burns was supposed to be here on the show this week, but Joe needs more time, man. Joe has been up to all kinds of things that you just would not believe, and when we finally do catch up with Joe, we'll talk about all the things he's been up to in the future. But this week, man, the good news is I found a replacement. The replacement, I kind of one-upped on the deal, man, and I have the great news now. And the great news is that we have the icon of bootlegs, man. Not the king, the icon. Kevin Weinstein is here. Many bootleg enthusiasts and collectors may remember Kevin as Livin After Midnight or New York City Bitch Committee. Kevin is not just a legend, he is a god in the world of bootlegs. His story is amazing. This is the best interview that we've ever had on the show, man. It's going to be done in 2 parts. This is just going to be part 1 here today, man. Me and Kevin Weinstein, we have an amazing history together. We talk about all the cool work that we did, but we also cover the first bootleg he ever shot, the first bootleg he ever saw, how he came to record bootlegs. This is the best interview in the history of the show. So here it is, me and Kevin Weinstein getting together and sharing some old times and talking about the history of bootlegs. Let's get to it. Right now, I am happy to be joined by Kevin. Kevin is known as Living After Midnight and New York City Bitch Committee, one of the most important filmers in the history of live audience concert recordings for sure. One of the original members of the network. He, myself, and 4 other people were the network that pretty much released most of the videos that you guys watch today. But I'm happy to be joined by Kevin. How are you doing today, Kevin?
I'm doing great. How are you doing, Roy?
Doing good, man. It has been a long time since we've seen each other. The last time we saw each other was actually in New York around 2004, 2005. I'll tell a little bit more of that story later on, man. But I'm going to jump right into it and ask you the first question that I ask everyone.
Sure.
What was the very first audience recorded video that you ever saw, first bootleg you ever saw. Where did you get it? Was it good? How did you discover the fact that people filmed from the audience with cameras without permission, man?
Oh, this is an easy one, and it pissed me off, and that's what got me started. I was at a record show in Poughkeepsie, New York, upstate New York, about 2 hours north of New York, and I was a broke college student, and I saw a video of Rush. I was a big Rush fan, so I was like, wow, Rush. Remember, I came out to see Rush when I came to visit you in California. I don't even know when it was, 2000 and...
It was actually 1994.
Oh, 1994.
I was going to bring this up, so you're jumping ahead, man. Yeah, we actually did, I mean, there were 2-cam mixes prior to this, but in 1994, you pretty much showed up on my doorstep, and we went to San Diego, and we filmed Rush 2-cam, which was one of the very first times that at the time, I remember thinking, wow, this is early. You know, we did a 2-cam mix and put that together. I actually have a clip of that that I'm going to show on the show here today, man.
Oh, cool. All right.
So you saw
the story. I was in Poughkeepsie, New York, and I saw this Rush video, and it was generated. Probably was like about a 7th generation video, or maybe it was a lower gen, but it just looked bad because of the filming quality back then. But it was terrible, but it sounded okay. But at that time, I was only taping audio, and I had just started taping audio. I was probably only into it for like not even a year. And there was an actual picture. And back then, VCRs were new. You know, not everybody had one yet. But this guy was selling it for 35 or 40 bucks. First he wanted 40, then he went down to 35. And back then, I don't know what that is now.
What year was this again?
1986.
Wow. Okay.
Or was it 86, 87? I don't know. It was something like 86 or 87. But
right.
All I know is I couldn't afford it. And I was so upset. And I said to the guy, look, I'll give you like 15 bucks. I'll trade you some audio. You can sell them. I don't care. And the guy was like, no, I don't need that. Da-da-da-da-da. And he blew me off. I never got the video. Then I saw a Metallica video at a different guy's table. And this was the Metallica video from Nassau Coliseum. And again, I could not get this. I could not afford it. So I was very upset that I went to this place. I saw all this cool stuff I didn't even know existed. And then I was like, oh my God. So I ended up actually getting that Metallica video from actually the great-grandfather of Bootlegs, this guy named Tom, who lives upstate New York as well. And I think you might have touched base with him in the past. He had a partner, Frank, whatever. But anyhow, these guys, he traded me something like 6 audios for that one Metallica video. And the craziest thing about it was I was away at school, so I didn't even have my own VCR. So I couldn't even watch it until I went home and played it on my mom's VCR. But I found out there's video out there, and It's amazing. You could actually see people, because back then you would only look in magazines. There was nothing. MTV was just starting to come out with stuff, but again, like hard rock and heavy metal was still kind of like taboo, but it was becoming mainstream, and I don't know, it was in a weird area. But that was all like produced.
Right. So you saw this, you're blown away. So that inspires you to go out and pick up a camera. So that leads me to the next question. What was the very first show that you ever filmed? How did you get the camera? Tell me how you got started, man.
Okay. Well, there was my friend Rob, and he told me that his dad bought a video camera. Like, we could actually record and make our own movies. I was like, wow. And he borrowed his dad's video camera because we were on a rugby team, and he needed to get some footage to show his father. So his father let him borrow the camera. Then, while we had the camera, his dad, we asked him if we could, take it into a club and film a concert. We wanted to film our own. I said, you know what? I need to get this going, because I can't trade with anybody, because I'm trading 6, 7 audios for a video. This is ridiculous. I paid for 7 shows, and they paid for 1. That's not right. So I was like, I want to do my own. So it was a big, long Sony camera. It wasn't the box cameras yet. They weren't out. Those came out in 1990. or 1991, I think, around that time. But this was now 1989, just turning into 1990. So it was a big, long Sony camera, and there was no way we were going to get this in. I mean, this was, you know, this was big, you know. It's not like you could stick this in your pants unless you were like John Holmes, you know.
Right.
But anyhow, so his dad said, no, we can't take it into the club. And then I said, what happens if I give you the money that it costs? I will put it down on the table. If we don't come home with the camera, here's the money to buy a new camera. And I actually went, and I went to my student loan. I took out the money, I put it on the table, and that was it. Then his dad said, okay, but if the camera is not the same way it comes back, then I keep your money. I said, okay. So me and Rob and this guy Tim from school, we're all friends, we decided, hey, we're going to go see Faith No More, Soundgarden, and Voivod at Brooklyn's rock capital, L'Amour's legendary rock club.
Yeah, very legendary.
You know, I was pumped, and we were going to get in there. But the thing is, how do we get this thing in? I mean, they literally shake you up at the door. You know, they're looking for, like, at this place, they're not looking for, I don't know what they're looking for, but they're looking for like knives and guns. And, you know, this is Brooklyn, downtown, bad neighborhood, you know, back in the 80s or like 80, 90. So I was like, okay. So it was great. I had one friend just like literally bum rush the security guard. Caused him problems at the front door, and me and Tim just ran in behind him.
Oh my God. A diversion technique. So this is a first on the show. Last week we actually met with a guy by the name of Mark Adams, and he revealed his technique was that they would sneak it in a box of tampons. So it was kind of funny. So they became like the Tampa tampon bandits. But you guys would cause a commotion and then run in the back side of the door. I
had a friend that was 6'3", practically tackle a security guard. That was even taller than him.
Wow. So you guys get the camera in, and so what happens then? You pull it off, you get the show?
Get in, but then I realized, you know, I'm not the tallest guy. So I'm like, how are we going to film the stage, you know? And then it was Faith No More went on first, then it was Soundgarden, then it was Voivod. Go figure, right? But I think it was Soundgarden and Faith No More's first time in New York City. So this was a big deal. And at that time, I had my own radio show at school, and we were very up on Soundgarden since '88. We were playing them in '88. No one hardly knew who they were, but I had some friends that were just really into the up-and-coming scene, and they told me about them. And you know, back then, you know, it was not even magazines were making anything about Soundgarden. So it was just like, it was actually like hand-printed Xerox paper magazine from some punks out in California. I don't know where they were from, but I got this thing, and I was like, wow, this is great. So when they come, we got to see them. And then I was a big fan of Faith No More as soon as they came out. I just loved the whole rap rock thing. I thought it was like the coolest thing ever. You know, being from New York, that's where rap started. So it was like, it was interesting.
Right.
You know?
Really cool stuff, man.
Yeah, so we were going to get into this show, and we were going to film it. So my friend Rob and I said, I will film Faith No More. You will film Soundgarden, because we needed to get into the mosh pit and get thrown up on stage. That was the whole objective. Because as far as I was concerned, mosh pit started with, in heavy metal at least, not the punk scene, but with heavy metal with Anthrax. And I was all part of that scene in '86 and '88, and I would have friends just boost me up and throw me onto the stage, and I would get trampled when I got thrown back.
Awesome, man. So you guys pulled it off, though. You got the show.
Yeah, it was funny. We found one elevated seat. It was only enough for one person to stand. So my 6'3" friend was in front of me, and I actually sat there and placed the camera on his head or on his shoulder, depending on what was the best angle at the time. He was my tripod.
Awesome.
And then Tim was holding me up next to me to make sure I wasn't falling off, because I only had like a 1 foot by 1.5 foot place to like stand. I could barely put 2 feet on there, and my heels were on there. And then it was so funny because there was this really hot girl to the left of me, and I started talking with her, and then her boyfriend came over, and he had super long hair, and I'm like, who are you? And he's like, I'm the lead singer of Spread Eagle, who I never heard of at the time.
Right.
And I was like, well, I hope you don't mind, but I need some space over here, and I'm trying to get this on video. And I showed him my camera, and he's like, you should be filming us. I was like, well, this is my first time, so let's see how it goes, you know? And then we shot it.
Cool, man. So what evolved from there, man? Did you start shooting in arenas next? I mean, when did you get your very own camera?
Well, I didn't have a camera, but then I graduated college in June of 1990. And this is only about 3 months after this, you know, this thing that we did with Faith No More and Soundgarden. And Rush was playing at the Meadowlands. And I was like, I got to get this. This is legendary. Now, there was already this guy, you know, Frank, that was doing shows, and Tom was helping him. And these guys were going to do the show too, but I was like, Frank, I want my own copy.
Frank was NYBG?
Yeah, NYBG, yeah.
Right.
The New York Bootleg Giants.
Yeah, I think that was supposed to be.
That's,
I believe it was New York Bootleg God was actually what I heard.
Or Gods, okay. Giants.
Yeah, and then it was you know, Connecticut Bootleg God too was like his buddy, but yeah, I mean, you know, Mike. But anyway, so yeah, back to the story, man. So you go to do Rush. Where was the venue?
Rush. Now, this is how I filmed it. I was filming it. I was holding it up. We had a downstairs seat. I mean, back then it was only like 5x Zoom or something like that. Mm-hmm. It was the first Sony box camera. I think it was a TR5, it was called. And it had this thing, and we used camera sound at that time, which really sucked. And it was mono, I believe, as well. And I was sitting there with a bunch of, you know, friends that I went to a few Rush shows with. And then at that show, I met these guys that I was trading audio with for the first time in New Jersey. This guy named Lance was doing audio since the early 80s. And we went there, and I was shooting the show, but then I would get tired. So I would hand the camera off to everybody in the aisle and let them film a song or two. And this
I gotta find this communal bootleg. I mean, you're like passing the camera around. It's like some crazy shit, man. But
I didn't even know how to use the exposure meter on the thing. So it's overexposed, it's shaky, it's terrible, you know, but it's, yeah. And I had it. You could hear it, you know, when you play it back, it was like, wow. And I put it on a videotape. And to me, that was like the movies or something. And I was like,
so when did you become aware of the game of bootlegs? And well, I'm okay. I know you said you went to record shows and people were selling. So I mean, you know, what led you to start possibly making your stuff available?
Well, what happened was I just wanted to trade. I was trading like crazy, but I was trading 6 audios for video, and I was doing audio for everything I went to. It didn't matter. I would just always have my audio recorder with me, and I recorded everything. You know, tons of stuff on cassette tape. And I just got to the point where I actually went to a record show, and I saw all these guys selling my stuff. You know, by then it was already like 1990, I want to say 92, 91, 92.
Right.
Like right at that. It was like, you know, a year later, almost 2 years later. And I was just trading them out to people. Now I was trading my video for 5 audios, which was great. And then I didn't really know anybody except for Frank and Tom who shot video. So there was no one else to really trade with. And back then, there was no internet, there was no email, there was none of that bullshit. You know, there was a magazine in New York called the East Coast Rocker. And I would place an ad in the back of that saying, I have this, and I like these bands, who wants to trade?
Right.
And I did this with my audio, and then I did it with the video, but nobody would ever respond. But they would be like, I'll give you like 4 or 5 audios for that video. And I'd be like, sure. But little did I know who I was giving it out to. Right. Resellers. So I went to a record show in New Jersey, and this guy was trying to sell me for $30 at the time, I think it was, my own video. Right. And it was generated. It was like a 4th generation. I was like, this sucks. I was like, you're selling this for $30? I was like, that's out of control. I was like, well, how about if I trade you something and then you give me a couple videos? It's better quality and this and that. And the guy's like, one guy said no. He's like, I don't know you. And I was like, all right, fuck you. And then there was another guy, and he's like, absolutely. Whatever you want on my table, it's yours. I'll give you, if you're filming it, I'll give you 3 to 1. You could take 3 of my videos for 1 of yours.
So someone who got it, man. But
it has value to me.
When did you finally kick in the door and become the king of New York, man? Because I mean, we're gonna get to some amazing stories later, but I mean, when did you just decide you were gonna take over?
Oh no, I was out the door, man. Once after that Rush show, every show I went to, I had my own camera now. I graduated college, I got money. The first thing I bought was a camera.
Right.
And then that Sony box camera. And then once I started filming, I finally met up with Frank and Tom, and they gave me some tips and everything. But it was a little weird. We got a little competition going there. But these guys would blow me away because Tom would do a separate audio, and then Frank would shoot a great video. And Frank was so particular and so steady. He wouldn't even breathe when he was filming. And I took in all his tips, and I started, well, I have to say, I kind of copied him. Because I was like, okay, if you have to, back then there was no stabilization. So right. I couldn't breathe half the time. It was like, ugh, because you're bootlegging, you're hiding, you have this little viewfinder. There was no flip out screen back then. It was like that viewfinder you put to your eye. And if you're holding it away from you, it's like the size of a postage stamp. You couldn't see it.
Right. Well, actually, I remember when I came and you actually had found a way around that. There was a really cool thing that we used to use. I have a small shot of it in the trailer where I hold up a little lens. And it was, you went to a glass eye shop, I believe, and you had a demagnification lens made. And you could put it in there and it would demagnify the thing so it would be on our lap. But we could see the entire image perfectly. So that is one of the most innovative things that anybody's ever done. I went crazy. I had to have you get me one. I got, I got two of them. I mean, those were really cool, man.
Well, I can't claim the idea as my own. It was actually Mike Tashenko. Now, Mike is an engineer by trade, so he figured it out, and he showed me what he had, and I was like, wow, this is out of control. I mean, you could hold it on your lap, and you could watch it from a few feet away. This, to me, was like the invention of the wheel, I mean...
It absolutely was. I mean, I didn't discover it until 1996, I think. So,
well, by 92, I had met Mike Tashenko, I think, at a Van Halen concert. And he just showed me what he had made. And I was like, I got to get one of these. But the thing is, how do you make it? It was this big, thick piece of glass. It was custom made. I went to many eyeglass stores. Nobody would make this thing because it wasn't an eyeglass.
Right.
So I went around. I live in New York, so there's all kinds of shady, weirdo places and people. And I met this Chinese guy, and he said he can do it. And I was like, really? And he was like, at the time, he's like, but it will cost you like $200. I think now that's like $800.
Well, yeah. I mean, I got two of them myself, and I actually gave one to Joe. And Joe lost the fucking thing.
Ooh.
Like, lost it. Like, he didn't even have the thing for 6 months. At first, he's like, oh, it's the best thing I've ever had. Oh, my God. Like, it makes everything so easy. And then he loses the thing, like, a month later or something. But another amazing thing that people don't know about that you were responsible for, I discovered the camera, and then you actually went to Japan, and we had the hat cam.
I call it the drum cam, but yes.
Right. Well, I mean, that's what you used it for, but I mounted it into a hat and would actually wear use my head as a tripod. But I remember at the time you went to Japan, you found the cameras, they were like $900, which, in 1994, that was like $1 million to me. So, I sent off the $900, and I mean, but I pulled off a couple of amazing videos with that we have up on the network now. Ace Frehley and Cheap Trick that we did. Like, it was a sit-down situation, and two of the coolest videos ever that happened. But those are the only two times I was ever able to use that camera. I remember, I think you used that once on Paul Westerberg. I think. You actually did film Paul Westerberg using that camera, and I remember that piece of footage. And I think that you put it like right on the monitor, right in front of him with Velcro.
Yeah, right on the stage.
Yeah, like you took that camera that I mounted into the hat. It was about the size of a tube of lipstick. Really amazing, insane thing. And yeah, you Velcroed it right on the stage, and he didn't even know it was there the whole time. It was
pointed it up. You could see it come like this kind of angle, like you're looking at now, like this.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really crazy video. I hope that we get a chance to find that one and put that up, because I have
finally a steady video.
Yeah, oh, it's really steady, man. But so yeah, I mean, you've got so many good stories. Everybody has a story about the first time they got caught filming, and I know you've been caught more than once. Tell me some of your awesome getting caught stories, and if you don't remember one of the really good ones, I'll remind you. But what was the first time you ever got caught filming? What happened? What was it like, man?
To be honest with you, I don't remember the first time. You might know. I might have told you, and I don't remember anymore. But I've been caught a few times. I think the first time I got caught, I can't. To be honest with you, I don't remember. But I do remember the ones that stood out. You know, my heart speeding and racing. You're getting arrested. You're in trouble. We're getting the tour manager. All this shit. You know, you're going to jail.
Okay, well, I'll just give you a quick reminder and push you in this direction. So you went to film 9 Inch Nails.
Okay, that wasn't the first time, but I was gonna.
I know it wasn't the first time. But okay, well, shoot, if you've got a better one, we should go with it. But
no, but this is a good one. I'll tell this story.
Go ahead.
I'm sitting there, and I went to 9 Inch Nails with Marilyn Manson opening up. At this time, I think you were getting in with Manson, but they weren't up on the whole video thing yet. So, and that guy is bipolar, crazy, whatever. You already know all this stuff.
Yeah,
motherfucker. So I'm sitting there. We're talking the last row, dead center, all the way to the back of Madison Square Garden. Now, right behind the last row, there was this little crow, like, walkway, like, tiny thing, like, you know, like maybe about this big. And it was a tour manager or the roadie, somebody, and they came from behind me while I was filming. Mind you, the microphone is attached and taped onto the handrail, so it wouldn't fall, wouldn't move, it get a good sound. And I'm filming it, actually filming it like it's rolling. I had no idea. And this guy comes from behind me. And not only that, but I had like a monopod or something attached to the camera at the time. And this motherfucker just picks it up and starts running with it. And he ripped the camera, a piece of it, a chunk of it came out because the microphone was plugged in. And he yanked this thing so hard. And I didn't know what the hell was going on. I mean, I'm the last row in the back. As far as I'm concerned, the wall was behind me. But this guy got in there. He just picked it up, and he just started running with it. And I'm like, I'm in shock. I'm like, what the fuck? Remember, cameras back then.
The guy that you, before you continue, the guy that you had this commotion with is actually kind of well known in the Marilyn Manson world. He was Marilyn Manson's tour manager. His name was Frankie. And they did a song called Fuck Frankie, and it was on the pics for the tour. But anyway, so Frankie grabbed the camera, and he's running away with it. So what happens next?
Oh, he was sprinting, and I was losing my mind. I mean, I have a whole bag of stuff there and other equipment and everything. I just left that there, and I chased him. You know, I'm a New Yorker. Right. You steal from me, I'm going to hunt you down, motherfucker, and take you with me, you know? So here I am running through the halls, and I wasn't expecting any of this, so I'm almost out of breath. I think we were smoking some weed before, and, you know, I was a little high at the time, and I was like, oh, my God. So I'm chasing this guy down the hall, and I'm getting pretty close to him, but he was fast. This guy was fast, and he's running. And we're running, and then he just ran to where the backstage area was. And just as I got there, he goes through, and I don't. I get stopped by the New York City Police Department. They actually had cops back in those days, you know, guarding that area. And I'm sitting there screaming like, that guy took my stuff. Go get him, blah, 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 blah. And they're yelling at me like, no, you can't go back there. We don't know what you're talking about, but just go back to your seat. And I'm like, no. And I caused a whole commotion. And it was bad. And this guy just took off and had my camera. This was, you know, these days in monetary value, that would be like $3,000.
Yeah, it was expensive.
Yeah, $3,000-$4,000, something like that. Plus, I had my super big magnification lens on that. Add a few more hundred to that, and I knew the camera was fucked because there was a chunk of it laying on the taped to the seat with the microphone. He didn't get that part, but at least I got to keep my microphone. But yeah, they were telling me that I had to leave, and I was causing such a scene and screaming that they should go back there and arrest him.
But so they never did anything. He just got the camera, and that was the end.
They actually came after me, and they're like, "Well, you know, if you're going to keep on like this, we're going to have to throw you out and arrest you." And I was like, "Arrest me?" I was like, "This guy stole my stuff."
That's why I've always lived by one adage, man. The only good cop is a dead cop. But anyway, so let's see here. I've got a couple of other things. I mean, you used to just wild card film from whatever you could get, but I know that things kind of eventually evolved, and you sort of discovered that front row balcony was the key. And I know that you had some awesome hookups with like Ticketmaster, where they would just punch in a code and you would get an automatic the seat that you needed to film, man. Tell me a little bit about that, because that's something that, I mean, when you get to a point where you're filming and you're so well known within the community that guys that work at, say, Tower Records are willing to get you the best seats in the house to ensure that the videos come out. I mean, it was a community working together to create these awesome videos. But how did you get that hookup? And tell me a little bit about that if you can remember that.
Sure, absolutely. Back in 1984 and 85, it was like Ticketron before Ticketmaster. Actually, Ticketmaster was Ticket World. And I worked at a 1 hour photo place, and they got one of those. Well, it was Ticketron and then Ticket World, and they were kind of competing, and they split up the venues in New York about which buy tickets for which one. And Ticketron was so corrupt. Actually, the Ticketron near me, the guy was actually, I would see him, like, you know, a show would go on sale at 10 o'clock, and he wouldn't let us in the door until like 10:15. And for 15 minutes, he had that thing on automatic punch, as many tickets as he could. And I met him later in life, actually, and we had it out. And we actually became friends. But I hated him. I wanted to burn his store down because I could never get the seats that I wanted. So I was like, damn, you know, and I would actually go wait online, and like everybody else, but I would sleep out, I would stay out, I would, you know, that's the way it was back in the day. You would just sleep out in front of the store, and if you were the first one, you got the first punch. So my method was to either get the best possible seats, like, you know, first 15 rows on the floor, and then go beg and trade up with somebody in the balcony for the first row, or get that seat.
Right.
But if you would ask for an upper level seat and you were the first one in the door, you would get it. You get the front row. Maybe not in the center, but on the side, but at least you got one. So that was a little hard because, you know, I was working, and, you know, I got a corporate job at the time, and I was like, I couldn't like sleep out anymore and do this stuff. So I had my knowledge, because then Ticket World and Ticketron went together and became Ticketmaster. And then once Ticketmaster was together, they took it out of all those stores and put it in their own stores, like record stores and stuff like that. And then I went to this one record store in Staten Island, and I knew these guys, and they were really cool. And I just went in there and I gave them my videos. And I was like, look, I'll give you every video I shoot as long as you get me the right seat. And you can do whatever you want with it. You can sell it, you can play it, you could make copies, you could distribute. I don't give a fuck as long as I get my seat. Very important. Once you have the right seat, you get the perfect video. And then again, remember back then, you're holding it to your face. It's difficult. You're hiding. You're in a crowd. It's really hard to do. If you're a first row on the balcony, it's just you and the stage. Nobody in front of you. So no matter what, you could leave it on the ledge. And that's what led to 2 cams. I could do 2 cam by myself. I could leave a camera on the ledge, and then I could have one in my hand. Holy shit. Not that we could mix them yet. Didn't know how to do that yet. But then Frank and Tom, they were the ones who got the MX1 mixer.
Right.
The one we did the Kiss at.
Yeah, the weapon of choice, man. I mean, actually, that I was going to ask you about some of the Kiss stuff. I mean, you filmed Kiss a million times. We have a lot of Kiss guys that watch the show. You and I did a tour of that area in '98 where I stayed at your house for like 2 weeks, and we went to like 10 shows. I mean, some of the funny things I remember about that tour was we would be at your penthouse in New York. I mean, Kevin was a Mac, dude, literally the king of New York. He had a penthouse with, you know, giant glass windows and shit. I mean, and we would just sit there and smoke weed all day and mix videos. I mean, it was a fun time to be alive, man. But yeah, we would be sitting at the house, and I mean, you know, like we'd be filming shows, I don't know, fuck, dude, in Hartford, Connecticut, and I'd be like, you know, dude, that show starts like in, you know, about 2 hours, man. I mean, do you think we're gonna make it and stuff? And then, dude, we would get into your car, which was, I believe, a Firebird at the time, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And we get into the Firebird. It's funny because I had a Firebird, which I've brought up on the show about 10 times, called the Pantera Mobile. And he had like pretty much the same car in New York. So we jump into the East Coast, you know, Pantera Mobile or whatever. So we jump in the car. I mean, dude, this guy would drive 110 miles an hour on the goddamn, you know, on the fucking interstate. And I mean, dude, I would be like cringing on the holy shit. And he would literally pull up to the door, get out, run in there and just start. And I would run in and film, and you would make it in by like the second song, and then we could mix the two shows together. I mean, I remember that happening. We filmed Nassau, New York together, and like, you know, the first song is like just one angle, then all of a sudden magically you're there. And you and me and Joe filmed in the Meadowlands in New Jersey, a 3-cam. That's up on the network. If you haven't seen it, dude, that was actually a remaster that was done by Mickey G.
No, I haven't seen it yet.
Dude, yeah, it has our names at the beginning, like credits and shit. Like, yeah, dude, that is an amazing piece of video, remastered with all new sound. And I mean, it looks like modern digital videos. It's done at 60 frames per second. It's whole next level as far as the quality. Yeah, you definitely need to check it out, man. We have a bunch of your shows up on the network. You filmed a ton of shows at the Ritz.
I mean, yeah, the Ritz, yeah.
A ton of shows, man. We've got your...
I got a great get-in story for the Ritz, dude. Great get-in story.
Tell me that, man. So what happened at the Ritz?
This would be an exclusive. I don't think many people have heard this one.
Go for it.
The time when Guns N' Roses played the Ritz in 1991, they were the biggest thing ever then. You know, they were the biggest band in music, and they were going to play one of the smallest venues in New York. The Ritz holds like whatever, like, you know, 1,500, not even 1,200 people. So we were, you couldn't get in. You had to be like in the record industry or something like that. So I was in the building next door to the Ritz, and there was a maintenance guy, and I was talking with him, and I was like, look, what happens if I give you $100? Me and my friend, remember, $100 back then is probably like, I don't know, whatever it is now, like $200, $300.
Yeah.
So I think we need to get into this show no matter what. And I was like, you work in this building. This building is attached to the Ritz. You guys must share a staircase, something. There must be something, some way you can get us in. A back door. He's like, there is. And then we had to negotiate that price, by the way. So when we negotiated the price, he's like, I will do this, but you can't tell anybody. It'll cost me my job. I was like, if this works out, you're going to be a rich man. Because you're going to get us in for all the shows. He said, all right. So I was like, I'm putting you on retainer here, you know? And I was like, and I'll bring friends. You'll make more money. And you can trust us. And he's like, okay. So we went into this building that was attached to the Ritz. Now, the Ritz is actually the old Studio 54. Okay, so this is an iconic theater. Mm-hmm. So we went into the building next door. We would go down in an elevator into the basement. Then he would press a button, and then a second door would open up because the basement was just like the basement. But then he'd press a second button, put his key in, turn it, and then the elevator had another door on the other side of it. And then that would open. And that went to the boiler room. And we go to the boiler room. Now this thing's like churning. It's fucking like 200 degrees in there. And he's like, this is the only way you can do it. You got to go underneath the boiler. You have to, like, you know, like in boot camp where they're doing this on the ground under those nets. You got to go under the boiler, okay? you know, if you had a bag and you wwere bringing your camera equipment, I mean, you were afraid for it, you know, going under this hot boiler. I didn't care if I got burned. I cared if my equipment got fucked up.
Man, this is like an amazing fucking story, dude. I mean, holy shit. Dude, you're bribing the guy, crawling under a boiler. So keep going.
Remember, this is a boiler for a huge building. So this is a big thing. It's like a tank. It looks like a tanker truck, you know, but it's in the basement there. So you crawl into this thing. Then we had to go through a series of mazes of basement, you know, just crawl, you know, eventually we found our way. And then we, you know, once we knew it, you know, and we just would go. But if you were just put out there, you wouldn't find it. You would have to really search for it. So we searched, and there was one room that the building that the Ritz was in and the building next door shared this one room. So there was access to the Ritz now from this room. So we went into this room, and this is where the Ritz kept their supplies for, you know, like extra beer and stuff like that. So we would grab a beer on the way in, and then we would walk up these stairs, and then we ended up behind the bar, like in the bar, like where the bartenders are. So we would have to wait until the bartender wasn't looking, jump out, and then get out from behind the bar into the theater.
Amazing. It's fucking crazy. So you're telling me you did this for like most of the big Ritz shows that you filmed?
Yeah, we did that for Iron Maiden. We did it for Guns N' Roses at the Ritz. It was so funny because I did this for the Guns N' Roses one, and I didn't know at the time, but it was the Iron Maiden guitarist, Adrian Murray, the blonde guy. He was at the bar for the Guns N' Roses thing. Now, mind you, this wasn't the regular bar. This was like the VIP bar. Okay?
Right.
So Adrian Murray was there, and he wanted a beer. And I came up behind the bar, and the bartender was so busy on the other side with other people because, remember, I had to wait until he was out of the picture. So I jumped up, and I'm behind the bar, and Adrian Murray was there, and he just pointed at his beer. And I'm like, oh, my God.
I mean, dude, you're like serving the dude from Iron Maiden a beer on your way into the venue. Like, this is the craziest story ever, man. Crazy.
Yeah. And then there's the Iron Maiden guitarist. He was there to see Guns N' Roses. They were in town to play as well, but they, you know, but whatever. So it was crazy, you know. And then so I got in, and then I told him, I was like, look, I can't get you a beer here, but I said, hold on a second, you know. And I came around, and I just started talking to him. And then what I did was I flagged the bartender over for him because he didn't want to like make a scene, like, you know, here, I need a beer, and you know who I am. And remember, Maiden was huge in the 90s, so. I went right over to the bartender. I'm like, this guy needs a beer. You know who he is? And then because I did that, he started talking to me, but his accent was so strong and so heavy, I couldn't understand a word he said. But I just smiled, and I was like, the whole time.
This story that you're telling, I mean, just really solidifies the proof that you... I mean, you know, one of the most amazing bootleggers of all time, man. And I'm going to flash forward a little bit here to that story that I talked about earlier when I visited you in New York. So you crawling under a broiler room, you know, sneaking into the show and everything. That's crazy. But when I came to meet you in 2004, I wasn't kidding. Kevin became the king of New York. Has filmed maybe 3,000 shows or more. I mean, it's a pretty staggering number, man. But I remember when I came to meet you, and you were like, meet me on this corner in downtown New York. And and then you take me into, we went down some stairs, and I'm not kidding. You had basically a bunker that was off the grid, like no physical address. In other words, if someone was trying to find you to take away your tapes, you were unfindable. Like off the grid is where these tapes were being stored and stuff. And that was a crazy thing, man. Tell me about your awesome underground bootleg bunker. How long did you have that? What was that? I mean, I just, you know.
Well, you know, my girlfriend wouldn't let me bring the tapes in the house. I had my own place for a while, but I had a kid in 2002. And once I did, I moved in with my girlfriend. That amazing penthouse, which I loved to death at the time. I still had that, but unfortunately I couldn't live there anymore. So It just got too expensive and too much travel time there because I had moved to Manhattan from Queens, and I had to give that place up. And when I did, I found this bunker place that you were talking about. Just by chance, I can't reveal all my sources because
Right. I
the
got
feds
you.
might see this one day.
I got you.
But I met somebody, and he's like, well, you know, I got this place. He goes, once in a while it floods, so I can't really use it for myself. But it's the whole basement of a storefront in New York in a very fancy neighborhood. And I was like, perfect. I'll put everything up on cinder blocks at least 2 feet high. And but actually the first time it flooded, it was only 1 foot high, and it wasn't enough. So I did lose some stuff.
Oh, no.
But after that, I put it up 2 feet. But it only would happen like once a year or once every other year or something like that. I had that place, I don't know for how long, like 5 or 6 years or something.
Yeah, it was just really incredible to walk in there and see all of these machines and all of the masters and, like, you know, just this hidden away place. I mean, it was right out of a movie, man. Like a wall moves and you go into a secret cave.
It was the whole storefront. The whole storefront, but underneath it, you know, so you wouldn't find it in a really old building, old brownstone.
It was undefinable, really cool, man. So, I got a bunch of cool stories I wanted to ask you about. One more Kiss story real quick. So in 1996, Kiss played 4 nights at Madison Square Garden. And so I want to tell the story about, or at least have you tell me your remembrances of, it was like the Bootleggers Summit. Like, I'm talking 5, maybe 6 guys came to New York. They all met at Kevin's penthouse. I mean, Gary from California. I mean, everybody was there, dude. There was like 5 guys. And just tell me about that. I know everybody was fighting over the mixer. And just tell me about the big Bootleg Summit of 96 when everybody filmed those 4 Kiss shows. Tell me a little bit about it, man.
Well, I think in 1995, Kiss played a few gigs where they did like an acoustic set, and they were getting back because I think in 92 or something, they were going to be breaking up, and they didn't tour for 3 years. You didn't hear from them for like 3 years. And because the original guys weren't in the band, I think the demand for them were going down. People were like, well, you know, I think people fell in love with Eric Carr, and then he was out, and then Eric Singer came in, and already he's now the 3rd drummer, and now they're going on a you know, who knows how many guitarists since Ace since then, a few different guitarists, and Gene and Paul were getting, you know, old, and Paul was telling the same stories all the time and whatever. I don't know, whatever it was, Kiss was getting stale. They just disappeared off the grid. And then in 95, they came back and they said, we're going to do a reunion, but acoustic. And they did that with at the Roseland Ballroom in New York, which has since then been knocked down. An iconic place that was there for like 80 years where Frank Sinatra played, and all these famous old big band, Glenn Miller band would play there, all these things and big dance things. But this happened, and at that place, a lot of Kiss fans from all over the world came. Like, I remember meeting this guy, Arjun from Holland, and he came in, and then there was this guy, Stefan from Germany, and like, it was like an international summit. And I realized, wow, Kiss is really this big. I mean, it means so much to people. I had a friend in Japan. He came down for that. And you had to buy the tickets. At that time, I think they were like $250. And they were going to allow people to film this gig. Like, you could bring your camera, but you could only set up in the back. So that happened, and that caused a big brouhaha. Now, a lot of the guys in this country kind of missed out on it. Like, all the international guys knew about it, but like there was some guys from here, but not so many. But that's what brought Kiss back in. And then in '96, they announced that electric full stage reunion tour with Peter Criss and Ace Frehley, and people were losing their minds. They said this is going to be a one-time thing, and we're going to do 4 shows at Madison Square Garden. Is that how it was? Is my remembering it
4 shows.
Yeah. So this was like the biggest event in concert history at that time. And this was 1996. And at that time, it was cool because I had met you. I had just met other guys in California like Gary and Dale up in San Francisco. And now I didn't meet Joe until 1993. Actually, I met Nick first, his buddy Nick, and then there was Joe. And Joe was like Nick's sidekick,
right,
back then. But Nick, you know, he was into it, but he was like doing blow.
Oh yeah, man. Nicky the Bat, dude. I mean, someday I'm gonna have Nicky on the show. He was in my original documentary. I've got a lot of stories about staying at his house and stolen TVs and just crazy shit. But so anyway, so Nick and you and
everybody. So there was Nick, there was Joe. Then I met this guy Mark in Long Island in 1994, and I think I met him in 92 actually. But we started really getting together around 94 to make 2-camera mixes because somebody talked me into buying that MX1 mixer. At the time, it was like thousands of dollars, and you had to like sync up things. And to me, that was all unheard of. And computers back then were just like, they didn't even have like a Pentium out yet. It was like the 486 or whatever. It was probably the equivalent of, I don't even know what, a calculator. You know?
Yeah, I mean, we used to, for a lot of people that don't know, I'll put a picture up on the screen, but we used a thing called the MX1 mixer. And I mean, it was very basic. You could do A/B switches, and it had some really cheesy effects that at first we all thought the cheesy effects were awesome. But after you watch it back now, you start to realize that the best work that I did was around 2000, because I finally figured out that the most professional thing you could do would just be to simply fade or cut from one angle to the other. Forget the little digital boxes and the going back and forth. But anyway, man, so 96, man, everybody descends on your house.
I think because of that mixer, now I bought that mixer, and when I bought that mixer, every filmer said to me, hey, look, you have the mixer, so you're the key to making the mix, because we can get in there and we can shoot video from different angles. And then I had bought the mixer just before that, you know, like a year before that, I think. And then everybody that I knew, you know, back then, I wasn't doing email yet. I think I just started doing email like in 95. But I was just like, okay, well, I got this mixer, so why don't we all get together and do this? Because everybody's telling me they're coming to the show. I'm going to film it. I like, do you have the right seat? And they're like, I don't know. And I don't know what to do. I don't know the garden. And I'm like, look, I know the seats. I know where to go. I know the specific seats that we need to get. So we're going to hunt these seats down. And then this way there'll be nobody in your way. We're going to get tripods into the garden. Back then, the security now was insane. It's like going into an airport. But now, back then, it was easy. If you looked okay, they just let you go through the door. They didn't like pat you down and stuff like that. So we had to get everybody on the same page. There was this guy Tom from Washington. I wish you can get Tom on here. He was the best. So cool.
Yeah, I'll get Tom, man. Tom was my shooting partner.
Okay. So I was talking with Tom. He was so easygoing. I said, Tom, you got to help me talk to the other guys, and we got to put out the word. We're going to make the biggest and best mix of the biggest concert ever at Madison Square Garden. There's 4 nights. They're going to do like 4 records, whatever. There's going to be different songs. This is historic. And I was like, with this is going to put us like on the map. And so then I spoke with you, and we already had a rapport. I was at your house in 94. I spoke with the guys in Holland, and Arjun came down, except we could never really convert his footage because he was in PAL and we were in NTSC. Back then, everything was a different format in Europe. America had its own format. So, well, we got everybody the right seats, which was very hard, by the way. Got to go through scalpers and
I remember I shot the first 9 shows of that, and we would have to rebuy the tickets every night because I would get to like Kansas City and be like, well, this one's behind the stage, so we would have to buy another ticket out front or trade tickets. I mean, it was really hard to get tickets because every one of those shows were a legit sellout. Every seat was legitimately sold. It was crazy. The hysteria surrounding.
Yeah. And not only that, but everybody was going to stand. So now you're going to be holding this camera to your face. But at Madison Square Garden that night, this was the first time where we really went all out. I mean, this was an event that had to be captured. So we got in tripods, huge tripods the size of me, like, well, maybe a little smaller, but like, like 5 feet, 4-foot tripod to get over the crowd. I remember Tom brought in this thing. It was like literally a professional tripod. Like each leg was like this.
Yeah.
And
you're gonna die, but you're gonna die right now. But you're gonna die. But that I'm using that tripod right now from Tom. He gave it to me. It's a Bogan tripod.
All right, cool.
It's a Bogan tripod. He still had it.
It was great.
He eventually moved to Washington State, and
Right.
he gave me this tripod that I'm using right now for my camera. So it's crazy that you're bringing up that tripod is sitting right in front of me right now. But anyway, go ahead, man.
Yeah, so we brought in these huge tripods, and everybody had a role. But everybody wanted to lead, but some people had to stay in the back and do the wide stage, and then we coordinated it. You're going to go on the right side, you're going to go on the left side, you're going to go on the back. We need somebody roaming the arena, just holding the camera, going in different places at different times. We had so many angles, we couldn't even use them all.
Right. So that was amazing, man.
What I do remember, though,
wasn't there a tussle over who got to do the mixes, though?
Yeah, so I remember we went back to my house afterwards, and then we were back there, and we're like, okay, so how are we going to do this now? And everybody wanted to mix it, although nobody really knew how to use the mixer. I knew because it was mine, but I didn't want to jump in and say I'm the one and this and that and everything. And then I think Mark had spent some time over my house. He spent literally like a lot of time, many hours, and he learned the mixer the best. He was really going to make the best mix. What he did was he had an idea of making a tape ahead. So he took all the angles. And remember, you have to play them and record them onto a tape. Then you had to take another tape and then record the other angle on.
Yeah, so, I mean, unfortunately, the final product kind of resulted in, like, third-generation video.
Well, if you remember, how we did it is we hooked up, like, 4 VCRs.
Right.
Link. And so we would make 4 masters at the same time.
Yeah, and then, whoever got the 4th master, that poor guy. Because, I mean, it just gets a little bit weaker with the chain. It's a daisy chain of machines, and each one gets a little weaker in picture quality.
I think I remember you and Mark actually having it out the most.
Well, that was actually in 98, and it's funny that you would mention Mark. I actually, I'd love to find Mark, because he's probably unaware, but we filmed a show in Hartford, Connecticut. And this is a story I've never told, and this is a true story. We filmed a show in Hartford, Connecticut. It's up on the network right now. You can watch it remastered, just amazing, 60 frames per second. It is, in my estimation, it is, in my estimation, the best show that I ever filmed and the best mix that I ever did, like, hands down. So we filmed the show in Hartford, Connecticut. It was me and this guy, Mark, and we're sitting side by side at the arena, and we filmed it. And I remember we were kind of getting into it on the way there. We just weren't getting along. I was very West Coast. He was very East Coast. So here's what happened, though.
All your weed, when we went to the Philly show before that, remember, it was in the back seat, and then
there was a discrepancy where he may have gotten more weed than he should have had. But anyway, so let's flash forward. We filmed this show in Hartford, Connecticut that you can see on the network, and I come back to your house, and I mean, we were filming so many shows and traveling. I was just dead tired, and I think I fell asleep. So Mark comes to the house, makes his own version of the Kiss Hartford, Connecticut show. And the reason why he made it is because he wanted to sell copies at the biggest record show in the country, was at the King of Persia Mall in Philadelphia area.
Oh, yeah.
And so I'm not kidding. So he sneaks in and he makes his own mix. And I was determined to make my own mix. And I had made my own mix and I loved it. I thought it was the best thing I ever did. That's the one you can see on the network. But I remember I asked him, I'm like, how many copies are you going to sell? Because I didn't want the world to see his mix, because there was going to be 2 competing versions of this show in the world at this point. So I asked him, how many are you going to sell? He says 11. And I go, dude, I will buy all 11 copies. Give me the fucking tapes. I'll buy them. He wouldn't sell me the tapes. I wanted to strangle him. You practically had to pull me off the guy. But I'm proud to say that show from Hartford, Connecticut, we actually have a Facebook group that I haven't told you about yet, where we give away the files and people can have full quality versions of the shows. Okay. So I have given out 8,000 copies of that in the last 4 months. So I think it's safe to say that Mark's version is forever finished. The 11 copies that he sold in Philly, I'm not kidding, dude. Every time I meet somebody in the world, the community of bootlegs, I'm like, do you have Kiss Hartford, Connecticut, 1998? And they'll go, yeah, I do. And I'll be like, well, which version do you have? And they'll be like, I've got this once, and I show them mine. I always send them mine, and they always say the same thing. That is the best bootleg I've ever watched in my life. It is, dude, me and this guy Mark worked like magic together. It's a shame that we couldn't have come together and made one mix that was the only version the world was going to have, because it literally caused confusion for over 20 years. But I just now have been able to finally stomp out the old version. My version is considered by the world to be the one. But anyway, I hijacked your awesome story, man. But
no, that's fine. I like your story too.
Yeah. I mean, so there it is. Me and Kevin Weinstein catching up. That's just part 1 of the 2-part interview. Dude, that was some crazy stuff, man.
What's up? That dude's a hard charger, man. I mean, you're gonna love the way he got to the wrist there. It's crazy, bro.
Yeah, I mean, his techniques, I was shocked to hear some of them. I had never heard a lot of those stories. But without a doubt, the biggest news is that Kevin is donating all of his masters to Master Tape Network. And we have got a team of people that are going to be digitizing all of his concerts around the clock. It's definitely the biggest thing that has ever happened to Master Tape Network. We're going to be bringing you all of that footage on Master Tape Network. It's incredible, dude. I want to thank all of our Patreons. I also want to say that we're going to have some shows up for our Patreon-only subscribers this week. Other shows this week, man, that we did that are new on the network. Vanilla Ice, dude. Live in Miami, shot by the great Willie Salas. It's got Vanilla Ice at his peak. Him and like 7 other dancers wearing genie pants. It's fucking incredible. It is a time capsule that people really have to see to believe. Also, we have Weezer live in Camden, New Jersey. That's pro shot, never before seen quality, remastered sound and picture from the digital source. I actually got that from Nick and Joe when I was out visiting them many years ago. I decided we're going to go ahead and put that up on the network and share that with everyone. But that's it for this week, man. Do you got anything you want to add?
I'm good, man. Word to your mother.
All right, man. We're going to see everybody next week for part 2 of the Big Kevin interview. I'm Roy Damm. He's Eric Lawton, and we'll see you next week.
Stop wasting my time. You know what I want. You know what I need. Or maybe you don't. Do I have to come right out and tell you everything? Give me some money. Give me some money. I'm nobody's fool. I'm nobody's clown. I'm treating you cool. I'm putting you down. But baby, I don't intend to leave empty-handed. Give me some money.